Number 2, thorns are to be understood. And I think we don't understand them. And that's what frustrates us and the purpose of the thorns in our life. We read in verse 2 Corinthians 12, verse 1 to 10, it says there, I must go on boasting, although there is nothing to be gained. I will go on to visions and revelations from the Lord. I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of the body, I don't know. God knows. And I know that this man, whether in the body or apart from the body, I do not know, but God knows, was caught up to paradise. He heard inexpressible things, things that man is not permitted to tell. Who of you have received revelation from God like that? Any of you? Who of you have said, Lord, I want to hear from you. I want to see those things which I cannot even share with man. How amazing that must be. Could he boast as a spiritual man? Oh, for sure he could. Could he as an intellectual man? Oh, for sure he could. He would debate all of us under the table. Hands down. But he says, what's the point? I will boast about a man like that, but I will not boast about myself, except about my weakness. Even if I had chosen to boast, I would not be a fool, because I would be speaking the truth. But I refrain so no one would think more of me than is warranted by what I do or say. What an amazing man of God. Who have you, let me carry on, we'll get there. To keep me from becoming conceited, okay, proud, arrogant, to keep me. Because of these surpassing great revelations, there was given to me a thorn in my flesh. There was given, okay, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. In your weakness, my power will be revealed. Not in your strength, not in your arrogance, not in your knowledge, not in your wisdom, not in your intellect. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insult, in hardship, in persecution, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Who of you here can say that? I delight in these things, in insult, in hardship, in persecution, in difficulties. You know what this one said to me? That's what I hear much of the time. And we gripe and we moan and can you believe that person can say that about me? My word. Ons is arrogant. We are incredibly arrogant. Come on. Paul was a meneer, let me tell you. This guy was an incredible man of God. But what was the thorn in his flesh? Anyone? Give it to me. What was the thorn in his flesh? Because I tell you now, when you have a thorn, 9 out of 10, I know what the thorn is. Why? Because you tell me. Does anyone here know what Paul's thorn was? But we bitch, if I may say that without you getting all offended. We bitch and gripe and moan and cry and pity party ourselves when any little tribulation or hardship or thorn comes into our lives. Instead of saying, Lord, what is it that you're wanting to do through this issue in my life? Whether this thorn be a person in your life that is frustrating you, but God won't let them get out of it, or an ailment. Yeah, but God died for my this and that. And He died for your salvation. That's what He died for. He didn't die. He did not die for your comfort. He died for your soul, for your salvation. Stop believing a lie. So, anyone want to give it to me? What was Paul's thorn? There's been extensive speculation on the nature of his affliction and this so-called thorn, which many of us, I think I know what it is, but I think I'm also wrong, maybe. Who of you think? Tell me what you think. What do you think this thorn was? Come on, let me see. I'm very interested to see what you have to say. Sorry? His persecution, okay. There weren't taxi drivers, no. Is that your persecution? Is that your thorn? Sorry. An ailment, okay. A sickness. How about this? This is my take on it. I think when you get stoned, I don't think it misses your head. I think it hit his head. In fact, I think it hit his eyes. That's my belief. Why do I say that? Let me see if I can give you a scripture that will help you. Sorry? Yeah, we'll read that now. Acts 14, verse 19 to 20. Then some Jews came from Antioch and Iconium and won the crowd over. They stoned Paul and dragged him outside the city, thinking he was dead. That's how badly he was stoned. For the sake of Christ. For the sake of his love for someone. Not for being a bad boy. Not for stealing or lying or cheating. Just because he loved God. Wow. Where were you, God? Surely you should have protected him. But after the disciples had gathered around him, he got up and went back into the city. The next day, he and Barnabas left to The next day, he didn't go to Mediclinic and, almal kom kuier vir my. Hierdie een kuier nie vir my. This one doesn't love me. They don't come and visit me. Therefore, I'm going to have a birthday party for the rest of my life. Come on, church. Many of us are like that. We offended for years because, well, daai pastoor, he doesn't ever visit me. Do you ever invite him? Come on, church. The next day, he gets up and he goes and ministers. Wow, what a man of God. Yet the previous day, they thought he was dead. It was so bad. Wow. I'm amazed at this guy. I believe through the stoning, it must have hit his head numerous times. We then read in Galatians 6, verse 11, as Gwenda said there, see what large letters I use as I write to you with my own hand. With my own hand. You see, Paul used to dictate his letters, and some scribe would write for him, and he would sign it at the end. But in the end of Galatians, he was writing himself, and he was using big letters. Why do you use big letters? And I believe, I'm not saying this is what God says, I believe this. I believe that he said, Lord, because I think, some people say, yeah, but you can't even see like a man. Where's your God? Come on, man. He should have healed you. Who have you had that? What's your problem? There's something wrong with you. You're living in poverty or you're living in sickness. Come on, where's your come on. And Satan would torment him by this. Yet God says to him, my grace is sufficient for you, even in this issue of your life. Stop focusing on that. Focus on what I've called you to accomplish. Because in this, I'm going to use it to my glory. That because of this issue in your life, you still are totally devoted to me. And people are going to see. But even though you go through this turmoil and hardship and shipwreck and beating and poor eyesight or whatever the case may be, you still love me irrespective. There must be something here. Hello? So I believe it had something to do with that, whatever the case may be. For me, it's almost irrelevant. The issue that is that in his weakness, God used it for his strength and for his glory and for his honor and for his name's sake. And our weakness we use for pity parties, and we use it for people coming and pamperlanging us. And we use it as an excuse to serve him and glorify him the way we should. There was once this young boy, he was 10 years old, and he lost tragically his arm in a car accident. And he took up judo. And the sensei, the instructor, started teaching him. And after a couple of months, he started to get better, but he was only taught one move by the instructor. And months went by, and he kept just teaching him one move. He went to a tournament, goes into a fight, boom, and he wins. Next guy fights, boom, and he wins. Last fight, the final. Comes into the ring, and they start, and eventually the judge says, no, let's stop the fight. And the master says, no, he must carry on. And his opponent runs at him, and as he runs at him, this guy takes him down. And he won the championship. On the way back home, this young boy eventually plucked up the courage. He says, Sensei, what is it? Why have you only taught me one move? How is it that I was able to beat these guys? He said, number one, he said, the very thing that is your weakness became your strength. You mastered the hardest judo move there is to learn. You mastered, number one. Number two, your weakness and not having a left arm was your greatest strength. Because the only way to defend someone against the hardest move in judo is to grab them on the left arm. And they couldn't do that. So your greatest weakness became your greatest strength. And God is wanting to use our weakness, our greatest weakness even, for his glory. My question to you is, will you allow it, or will you continue complaining and feeling sorry for yourself? So let us learn to understand thorns are there for his glory, that in our weakness he may be shown, his strength, his goodness, his faithfulness.